I'm Mark Dawson from the Self-Publishing Show, and this is Self-Publishing Spotlight, where we shine a light on the indie authors who are changing the world of publishing, one book at a time.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Spotlight. We meet indie authors at all stages of their careers and ask them a series of 5 questions. 5 questions about their process, their mistakes and their successes. 5 answers that will help you level up your own author career. My name's Tom Ashford and I'm part of the Self-Publishing Formula. Don't forget that you can get your self-publishing resource kit at selfpublishingformula.com/starter kit. This week's guest is Elaine Bateman. She's written 4 books in the urban fantasy genre and she lives in the UK. Welcome, Elaine.
Hi, Tom.
How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So do you want to talk a little bit about your books before we start?
Sure. I've written a trilogy plus a little reader magnet. And it's about a girl who gains powers and loses her only parent in the space of 24 hours. And then she goes to an academy where she learns that her father was murdered by faders, creatures who are invisible. But the powers that she's developed allow her to track those faders. So after an attack, she's transferred to another academy in Colorado and hilarity ensues.
Sounds interesting. And you've got a new book. Have you got some sort of collaboration deal with someone at the moment?
Yes, I've just written my first, finished my first book with Michael and Aliyah.
Awesome.
And that's an urban fantasy as well. It's about an assassin who's on the run from her former employers, and she teams up with a vampire detective and a sorcerer, and they go solving crimes.
Amazing.
As you do.
Yeah, awesome. So, right, let's jump into the 5 questions. The first one is, why do you write?
Well, people who know how much I talk would be surprised to hear that writing is actually my preferred method of communication all round.
Right.
And I think it's probably because I think at about the same speed as I type, but my mouth goes way faster than my brain and gets me into a lot of trouble.
Right.
So I write because I've always preferred to write in any kind of communication, and I've got a bit of an imagination, so put it to use.
Yeah. Have you always wanted to be a writer?
I've said it over the years since I was, a little girl, but never really made any attempts towards it until, I started. I've worked in offices a few times and written weekly serials on the people that I work with, except I give them all different identities and stuff, and I've always done that, which has always been fun. But it's only recently that in the last few years that I thought, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I should do it. Yeah,
absolutely. And why the particular story and genre that you chose to write in?
It could have been any. I read crime fiction, high fantasy, urban fantasy. I'll read anything. I don't often read horror, but I'm quite tempted to have a go at a comedy horror, which would be fun. But yeah, just it could have been anything, and that was just what I was into at the time. All the Twilight stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. And are you self-published or traditionally published?
Up until joining up with LMBPN, I was just indie, and but now I guess I'm hybrid.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, it's a fantastic opportunity to work with Andalay, isn't it?
Massive, huge.
That's awesome. Okay, well, question number 2 is a slightly easier one. How do you write? So, are you more of a plotter or a pantser?
Up to now, all my books have been pantsed, and I know you hear the same thing over and over again, don't you? People saying, "Oh, it started as a pantser," right. and that's really the case. My first 4 books, including the one that I've just finished from Michael have been pantsed, but I'm quite disorganized, and the fact that there was a word for that approach kind of attracted me. It was like a good excuse.
Yeah.
But I've come to realize that it's not really helping me move forward. Michael's been very understanding of the fact that I'm a bit slow, but at the same time, his readers have certain expectations, and I don't want to let him or them down. So I've been learning to structure my work and make better use of my time. So I'm learning to outline at the moment.
Yeah. Well, how did you so to get a little tangent, but how did your deal with Michael and Aliyah come about?
I went to 20 Books Barley, and primarily with one purpose, with my something like four chapters of a work in progress in my sweaty little hand, and I walked up to him and gave him that, and it was the only way I could talk my husband into going to Bali. I was like, oh no, it's really important for my career.
Is it that hard to make a person go to Bali? I mean, it seems like a very nice place to go.
It was a big investment.
Yeah.
A huge investment for us. So, but you know, I had faith in my own ability, and I really felt that it would fit in well with what Michael does. So yeah, I went and gave him the few chapters, and he said he'd read it when he got back, which was fantastic because I didn't have to like worry or hide for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And then he contacted me a couple of weeks later and said he'd like to work with me.
Fantastic.
So I did a little dance, and then I got on with it.
Yeah, well, obviously paid off.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, in terms of go back to how you write, what sort of software do you use to create your manuscripts? Do you use like Scrivener or Word or?
I use both. I use Scrivener up until the point of finishing it enough to send to the editor, so I compile it into Word and send it off, and then when it comes back after that, I just work in Word.
Yeah. Okay. And is there a particular time and place that you prefer writing?
Oh, you know, I've tried to be a grown up and work normal human British hours, you know, but quite often, even if I start at like 8 a.m. or whatever, I might not finish until 6 o'clock the next morning.
Right.
So because I do tend to naturally work better at night, so I do tend to work overnight, but then I'm sleeping half the day, and it's not great when it's been nice weather like this.
No. Well, that leads us into question number 3, which is, are you a full-time author? If you are, how did you get there? And if you aren't, what steps are you taking to make it happen? Well,
you know how they say, oh, you should always make sure you're consistently earning enough to survive before you go full time.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I had some. I've got a small pension that gives me a few hundred a month, and some savings, and really I decided it was just time when I got back from Bali and realised I was going to be working with Michael. I knew that my time was more valuable and better spent working on the books. So I gave up my day job, and now I'm frantically trying to finish books for Michael so I can earn some money.
That's fantastic. Question number 4 is, what mistakes do you think you've made, and what have you got right?
God, loads.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Oh God, most of mine, I'll be honest, have been financial.
Yeah.
I have blown through so much cash. Oh my God. A lot of it could have been avoided. I joined organisations I didn't need to, bought every bit of software that anyone suggested. I threw money at advertising without knowing what I was doing. I found my first editor was on Fiverr, I think English was maybe his ninth language.
Wow.
And that was a huge mistake. But like, I joined like the Society of Authors before I needed to, and that was pure vanity. That was just, I don't know, throwing a bit of money away for no purpose. The first designer I used was awful. They were expensive, and but they just did what I asked. And honestly, I didn't know anything, and they had all the knowledge. So really, they should have just slapped me around and told me what I was supposed to be doing, instead of just doing the stupid things that I was asking them to do. So that was a mistake. But I've had good designers since.
Yeah.
And what else? Really, the business side of it. I still don't know, like, what to do about my taxes.
Yeah, I think taxes confuses everyone. You can see that in the SPF Facebook groups.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, there were some expenses that I felt were worthwhile. You know, like Publisher Rocket, Vellum. Oh my God, Vellum!
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Mark's courses, absolutely, and of course the huge expense to go to 20 Books Barley. Yeah,
a good investment though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been mostly financial, if I'm honest, just because I had a lot of money when I started. I was just throwing it around. It was ridiculous.
Well, I think that's an issue for a lot of people when they first start out. It's either, you know, they spend a lot of money because they don't know where to direct it, or they haven't got a lot of money and therefore, you know, they have to, you know, it's a struggle to you know, invest in the business as they try to, you know, get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So question number 5, the fifth and final one, is what's your final piece of advice for authors starting out in indie publishing?
Oh, don't do anything I did.
Except go to Bali and talk to Michael and Aliyah.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, that's probably number 1. But realistically, you don't need to do it alone. I think there are so many great resources and communities out there. There's local groups and podcasts and YouTube videos and online groups like SPF and 20 Books and the Alliance of Independent Authors. All those fantastic resources are out there. You don't need to do it alone, and you do not need to throw your money at every shiny thing.
Yeah,
I think really it's one of my number ones.
So we met at the London Book Fair in March, didn't we? Yeah. So would you recommend that to a budding, you know, author?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, the first time I went, I didn't really know anyone. I was a member of Ally, and I kind of hung around their stand quite a lot, getting in the way. But when I went to walk around the fair, it was I felt very disconnected and didn't really know what I was doing there. But then when I got back into the indie area, I felt so much more comfortable, and the talks were great. So there is a risk not knowing people, you know, that you might not really know the best things to do. But the second time I went, when I was sitting with you guys, I really enjoyed it. I knew so many more people, and the people who came up to talk to you when they couldn't get to talk to you were talking to me. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm glad it was worth going to, and hopefully we'll see you again next time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on. That's the 5 questions up.
Wow, God, that was fast.
That's it for this week's Self-Publishing Spotlight. Don't forget that you can get your free self-publishing resource kit at selfpublishingformula.com/starter kit. And if you want to appear as a guest on this show, send us brief details about yourself and your writing at selfpublishingformula.com/spotlight-guest. I'm Tom Ashford, and I'll see you again next week.